So for anyone to sit in here, any government minister or junior minister sit here and tell me they want to see, maybe they want to see it, but what the hell are they doing about it? The reality is, nothing has changed, it has got worse. We have a decline of a population in rural Ireland, and the decline I'm saying are young people. I come from a coastal county, right across to all the south of the southwest and the west and south of the county, which was the home of Kerry football. Every club south of Dingle and south-east of Dingle, every club there are amalgamated for underage football. 2 clubs imagine, 3 clubs amalgamating. Village Island is one area that has increased its population. Returning people, elderly people coming back. Young people, it is struggling to put out a football team. Again, a fantastic area. And you might ask yourself why. There's a minister that sits there, Shane Ross. He was down there recently regarding a ferry, which is the lifeline to Village Island for tourism. And the ferry company that run that company have been told they have to replace it. It's going to cost €3 million. Out of their own pockets, they're putting up €1 million. And Minister Ross tells me that €2 million is a huge amount of money, and he doesn't think he'd be able to get it. €2 million to keep a community alive and vibrant. I spent part of my life as a fisherman, and I fished from the mid to late 60s right through the part of the 70s and into the early 80s. And I can say that I could see it gradually declining and declining and declining because there was no political support for our coastal communities. I don't need to tell you that, Minister. You know it, you come from a coastal county. You take, for instance, where you have a national quota of mackerel. 87% of that quota is in the hands of 23 vessels. 23 vessels. You know that's an awful injustice. I know by your body language, you know it's a terrible injustice. You mightn't be able to say it in here. It's an absolute political disgrace. Who runs the country? Does the ministers, the elected government run the country, or does the permanent government run the country? Because that's one of those disgraces. There is an increase on mackerel quota. And where is that mackerel quota going to go? Is it going to be distributed equitably among those involved in the inshore fisheries? Which, if you had any bit of fairness or any bit of equality, you would have a vibrant coastal communities. But because you don't have any equality or no political will to drive that equality agenda, that is why you have coastal communities absolutely decimated. The same thing can be said for the farming organisations, where the small family farm is practically being eroded off the face of our country. Absolutely eroded. A big part of that is down to cartels that exist. Cartels that exist that are able to set the prices to their agenda. Everybody in this House knows what I'm talking about. But nothing has been done about it. A cartel where a huge person, a huge beef farmer, can determine and tell you what you're going to get because he has access to the national data, and again, nothing can be done about it. We all know that is happening. But until such time that there is a political will to challenge those who institutionalise inequality in our society and in our country, then it will continue as it is. We have the erosion of post offices from rural communities. We have the closing of practically a large number of Garda barracks, and many more are supposed to go as well. We have the transport aspect of it. You live in rural peripheral areas in rural Ireland. If you're an elderly person, the only person you can depend on to get the messages to your house is the small post office and the postman. If that goes, well then, them people are left there totally and absolutely on their own and without any support. So, Minister Humphreys says, I accept the need for better rural proofing of policies across the national and local government system. Every person I have ever seen across there in government or as a minister has said the same thing, but none of them have done absolutely nothing about it. It's interesting to see Fianna Fáil, John Brassel, who is a friend of mine, saying here that he can't support it. I know well he can't support it, because his party, while in government, done absolutely nothing, and his party has been practically in coalition in this government, is not going to implement something that is going to help to try and deliver equality for the people who live in rural Ireland. So, Minister, you're from rural Ireland, you know what I'm talking about. You'll probably come back with your script that's prepared by people, that civil servants and so forth, to say the things to kind of undermine what we are saying here. I don't mind you trying to undermine it. I don't mind you challenging what the bill we're trying to produce here. But for God's sake, don't come be paying lip service that you're going to do something about it, because my experience and my knowledge of what's happening in here is rural Ireland is just someplace out there. We throw in something every now and then, and that will be it. Rural Ireland, you know, it's... Deputy Kenny comes from rural Ireland. He's as passionate as I and many others are in this House. But we have to stand together, and I don't give a goddamn what political party that we support or what political party that we're in. If we don't stand for our communities that we represent, then we shouldn't be in here.
Ferris.